started wood carving almost 30 years ago, and I'll never forget the very first day I started to wood carve. I was in my dad's little homemade shop, and I watched him wood carve a little tiny bird, and he said, "I'm going to show you how to wood carve." And I told my father I don't want to pick up a knife or a chisel because I was afraid of cutting myself. And to this day, I have cut myself a lot of times. But that fear I had to overcome as I was learning the art of carving into wood and understanding how wood reacts when you're shaping it. And so my father sat me down and gave me the same little bird, but in a block of wood, and said, "You're going to learn to carve this little guy just like I did." And I spent hours and hours and hours and day in and day out trying to learn how to carve and whittle this tiny little bird. And finally, after 2 weeks, I had something in my hands. And I told my dad, "Look, I carved what you have." And he said, "Well, yes and no." And I was a little disappointed because I thought I could match what my dad did. But of course, my father has been carving many years before me. And he explained to me that this is going to be an evolution of learning through time of trial and error. And I didn't believe him because I would pick up a lot of pieces of wood and try to carve just about anything I could find that looked like something that could be done. And one day I got very bold and told my dad, "I'm going to carve me a figure." And he said, "What figure did you have in mind?" I said, "Well, I like cowboys." And he says, "Oh, well, carve me a cowboy." So he gave me a piece of basswood, and I started whittling and whittling. And to this day, I have that cowboy sitting in my gallery. And I carved a little rifle to match the cowboy. And when I showed it to my dad said, "Not bad. You did okay." But I thought I did great because I put detail. I added a little touch to it of varnish and made it look like something you can buy at a store. And my dad told me, "Well, you have a long ways to go, but you've learned something." And so ever since then, 30 years ago, I have not stopped carving. I've been learning just even from others that have taught me how to carve, showed me different ways of carving, and looking at different ways of expressing myself. Not just carving figures, but things that excite me, things that make me want to carve. So that's what carving means to me, is that I'm able to shape and create something out of a solid piece of wood, whether it's mahogany, which is very hard, whether it's bass, which is very soft, or whether it's cedar, northern New Mexico wood that has beautiful reds and yellows. But that to me is what keeps me going, and that's what carving is all about. The wood itself is a solid piece of wood that brings a sense of mystery. When I carve into a piece of wood such as bass like this, I would like to create something from within and letting it come out. And it's like this, like Michelangelo used to say. He already saw the figure inside the block of stone. All he did was release it from its prison. It's exactly what I'm doing. I'm releasing whatever is in this block of wood out of its prison and letting it breathe. So it has life, it has soul, it has creativity, it has energy, it has purpose. So that's what this wood means to me, is bringing something out of its cage, out of its isolation. And a lot of people ask me, "Do you carve straight from the block or do you use rough outs?" I say, I go straight from the block. A block of wood is a block of wood. And when you look at it for what it is, then inside your head, you know that that image or that figure or that piece that needs to come out has to be shaped outside. You're peeling away like an onion the things that keeps it from being what it is. Like anything in life, if you peel back something, you start to reveal what's underneath the surface. It's the same thing with my wood carving and the same thing with this piece of wood. That's what this means to me. I like to use the various tools here. I use different chisels and gouges to peel back the wood and to create the detail that I have here. Just like with the Santa Claus, the St. Nicholas, as I start to three-dimensionally sculpt and create, I look at my chisels as a way of taking away and expressing the detail with what I need. And there's various chisels that I use. I use these flathead chisels, I use V-gouges, I use various knives to cut through the grain to be able to shape and form the detail as I go along. So when I'm carving, I'm always thinking about how to peel the wood away carefully. And I do it very slowly. I don't like to rush. I don't like to be aggressive with the wood because the wood needs to be treated with respect. And a lot of times I see myself meditated in a moment in an area of the carving, and by the time I know it, time has passed and I created something. And so with this piece, it's all about just seeing the small little things that needs to be revealed and things. And I use a vise, of course, to keep everything locked down for safety purposes because it's easier for me to carve. But as you can see, I'm revealing different pieces of the carving in the back, such as the bear and the Christmas tree in the bag, is all three-dimensional. It's all expressed and rounded off using my tools. So I'm going to clamp it back in. This is my St. Nicholas of New Mexico. Everybody asks me about my Santa Clauses, and this is my favorite signature piece. I like to carve the St. Nicholas because Christmas to me is all year round. It's a way to express joy, happiness, and family. I mean, when we get together in Christmas, everybody's around the Christmas tree, caroling and singing songs, or thinking about what Christmas is all about. And to me, Christmas is about sharing, giving, expressing, and basically just having fun, being, around good people in good energy. So that's what Christmas, and this is why I carve what I do. And my St. Nicholas has become my signature piece already. So a lot of people like this various pieces I have. I have a few on the shelf here that are painted already. As you can see, these are my finished pieces. And this one here is an unfinished piece, of course. I'm just carving it out and creating the small details. However, before I begin any carving, if it's a brand new carving, I get a block of wood. The figure is already inside the block. All I do is peel back the wood to reveal what's underneath. And so it does take a lot of time, and of course it takes some effort, but with the right tools and the ability to sit here and meditate while you're doing it, you start to carve something. It starts to reveal itself. So this is what I use. And I have used in the past rough outs, but again, everybody has their preference. I like to carve from the block because to me, it's a little bit more challenging, and I find it to be more, more funner, and I get to be a little bit more creative with what I'm doing. Not restricted to what I'm carving, but more creative.